No more of that.
Live from the city of Erie, Pennsylvania, with your hosts, Kaz Patowski and John Steiner. You are watching Taxpayer's Hotline.
Hit the sax.
Well, I got to say, I want to thank the guys in the band over there.
Yeah, right.
This is like this is going to be like a nighttime show.
Absolutely. It was. I thought it was the Tonight Show. I was looking for what's his name?
Stephen Colbert.
Colbert and Jimmy Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon. Who's the other guy?
The Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
Where are those guys at? I don't know if anybody's watching, but let us give us some feedback on our new introduction there.
Hey, we're going to tune it up a little bit.
Yeah, got to make a couple variations to it. And
goes along with the new Erie, right?
Hey, it's the new Erie, the new vibe, the new approach, the new look. So, yeah, 4th of July coming up. Kaz, you ready for it? What do you got planned? Anything?
Yeah, I got my in-laws are coming up.
Party at the Kaz residence?
No, actually, we're making a little road trip tomorrow, and
a little roadie.
4th of July is kind of open, you know.
Yeah, where you guys headed to? Where are you guys headed?
Probably Cleveland.
Cleveland? Catch a Tribe game?
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Yeah, my brother-in-law's not a baseball fan, but
no.
I'll reserve the trip to Cleveland later.
Yeah. Hey, I went to the Seawolves game last night.
Did you like it?
I loved it.
First time this year or what?
First time this year, and the last night, I'm going to tell you, if you ever want to go to a Seawolves game, the best time to do it is when it's hot and humid. Because that ball was flying out of the park last. I'm not kidding. There was 11 home runs hit last night.
I saw the last Major League exhibition game there.
I know. I bet you I know what team it was.
What?
Anaheim Angels.
Yeah. And they were launching balls on that roof.
I remember Troy Gloss, right? He was the one that was putting them. Somebody hit one up on the roof last night.
Yeah, I think, that's a pretty fair park. I remember all the years I used to watch at Ainsworth.
Yeah.
And the one place the ball would never carry was like deep center, Yeah. The ball,
Yeah, that was a shot. I mean, same with down here. A lot of these balls that were hit were, left field, right field, but there was a couple to dead center.
Yeah, the ball doesn't seem to carry. I mean, you look at a major league ballpark and, some of those shots are 416. So, these kids most of them are a little younger.
Yeah. These guys, I mean.
But when you get the occasional.
They don't even shave, some of these guys. They're so young.
But when you get to, usually, like the pitchers can be more advanced.
Yeah.
A lot of the batters they're physically, they're not there yet.
Right.
But when you see somebody that's got a little power.
Right. Well, this team that they played last night was, from Bowie. And, I was looking at I'm thinking, wow, this team is crushing the ball. They gotta be really good.
Well, the Indians traded to the Yankees when they got Miller. Frazier kid.
Oh, Clint Frazier?
Yeah, I think it was he and Zimmer were playing in the same outfield for Akron. Cause I like this when Akron comes in.
Right.
And you could tell then that they were,
Oh, yeah.
But, he, like that, the fences were within his range,
Yeah. The Seawolves game, I'm thinking, should I go buy one of those cotton candy nerd hot dogs? And I'm thinking, no, I'm big enough. I don't need candy.
You can check me into the clinic when I'm done with that. I'm sure it's going to be so high.
Yeah, you do that, you'll be walking around the stadium all night.
You'd
be all sugared up. You'd be all sugared up, Kaz.
That's a diabetic's nightmare.
Oh, man. But, hey, got them on. I was watching the sports centers. They were talking about it.
Yeah, but do you know what? They missed a big thing. That was a Smith's hot dog in there.
That's true. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Kaz.
Yeah.
I just want to mention I always ride down to Perry Square. And, when you go to the entrance to the fountain down here, there's always a puddle of water there. If it's small, now it's getting larger.
What, the water in the fountain?
No. When you go, them, the bricks they put up there, like a half a horseshoe there.
Oh, you mean the wall there?
The wall there.
Yeah.
Well, they have the entrance where you can go in where the fountain is.
Yeah.
Well, right there, you get first it was a small puddle of water, but the puddle of water's getting bigger.
What is it, like a depression in the sidewalk there?
Yeah, the sidewalk, yeah.
Ooh, I don't know.
Now, and it seems like it's deeper and getting bigger.
Well, me and I don't work downtown like I used to. I used to walk through the park a lot. I'll take a walk over there after the show. Well, it probably didn't rain enough. Did it?
Yeah, but if you got the water fountain going, and the kids are playing in the water, and you can still see the puddle of water there. You'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay, but it's near the entrance where that horseshoe is, like.
Right.
I'll take a look over there, because it probably, I don't know, when they put that in, it was a couple of years ago, I thought.
Yeah.
You thought they would have...
I don't think they put either enough dirt in there or backing soil, but it's sinking in.
That's the trouble when I can't remember, is it bricks there or just concrete?
Well, you got the bricks, and then you got the concrete sidewalk. It's like the concrete sidewalk.
Yeah, we get a lot of problems and issues with water in this town. Now that's, that one, you probably should fix that because that's not good to have, probably need to...
The kids are playing in it too.
Yeah.
Walking in it and everything.
They probably didn't have enough whatever you call that, underlayment or...
Yeah, they probably didn't put enough packing stone or something there or something.
Yeah, once you start monkeying around with stuff, it takes a while for it to ever, get hard again. And
yeah. Well, I hope you and your buddy here have a good 4th of July.
Thank you. You too, buddy.
John's got a plan. He wants to see if he can launch himself about 100 feet in the air.
Yeah. If he launched himself 100 feet in the air, maybe he won't be on the show so long.
The landing. Launching will be fun. It's the landing part that's going to be trouble.
You don't get hurt from the lead coming down. It's a sudden stop.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. That's what they always say. It's not the fall.
Exactly. That's that gravity thing,
Yeah.
I'll just strap myself to some of the new legal fireworks that are being sold now.
Right.
So we'll just get one of the a really big bottle rocket.
Sometime when I see, I'll tell you the old Army joke. You'll laugh at that one.
Yeah.
It's about guys that jump out of airplanes,
I want to tell you, you could have a 5th on the 4th, but you couldn't have a 4th on the 5th.
That's right. A 5th on the 4th will do you good.
Yep, you could have a 5th on the 4th. 4th on the 5th.
Well, you could have a 4th on the 5th, but you still have a 4th left, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for calling.
I'll see you.
Okay.
Seems like everybody's having their fireworks on the 3rd, too, this year.
Well, that's good. I mean, they finally, a lot of people ask me, why don't they do Erie Day fireworks on a Saturday? And then somebody said they did a long time ago, but then there was complaints.
About what, firing them on the Saturday?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I couldn't figure it out because I'm thinking, well, wouldn't that be best? Because I know personally I have relatives that come into town for Erie Days and we celebrate down on the Bayfront and have a big party. And they would love for it to be on a Saturday because then they can travel home on Sunday. But I guess if they have it.
That's what it is, too. A lot of people on the 4th are starting to head back.
Yeah. So it's like, I think that the city made a really good decision to have it on the 3rd. Because, doesn't Waldemere and I think Lawrence Park does them on the 4th and Waldemere and I'm trying to think I think Northeast does too.
I was at Sarah's the other night and you talk about a crowd.
Oh, yeah. Sarah, you can't go wrong at Sarah.
You can't get in there sometimes.
No,
but
I love that place. Go ahead, caller.
It sounds like it's been played on an old-fashioned Victrola.
What's that, the music?
No, the scratch sounds like it's scratchy and stuff.
What,
the show you mean?
No, the music.
Oh, really? You didn't like it?
Production music.
Didn't come in good?
No, I don't care for it.
Oh, Mike, come on, you got to get that back.
Okay, here's my question. Is anything on the books for that stupid Bayfront Highway?
What do you mean?
Well, I've been having problems, or not problems. I've been going to the hospital lately to see my wife and stuff. And no matter when you go, from the waste treatment plant all the way to State Street, it seems like it's bumper to bumper.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it all depends on what time you.
Well,
he's right though. It's bad down there.
Well, the state claims that there's 2 times during the day that it really rises to a bad level. And that's at the end of the day when everybody's going home.
At 4:30.
And in the morning.
At 8 o'clock.
However, there is a plan. They're still working on it. I know it sounds like, I'm making it up, but the plan has been in effect now for at least a year or so. And they're studying alternatives, and of course financing is the big issue. There are about 3 or 4 plans right now in the books to how to address the situation. The big problem seems to be at State and the Bayfront Highway, at the entry points.
Right.
And so there is a plan. Now, the one plan, I give you a brief synopsis. The one plan is a traffic circle. The other plan is to have the east-west road go underneath State Street, and unless you need to access State Street, you can bypass the stoplight at State Street. You'll be able to drive underneath it. So basically, they're like...
well, when's that going to take place?
When's it going to take place?
See that.
Well, the problem you got is you got to deal with, like most issues like we had over the years, you have to deal with the railroad, because that's a right-of-way underneath there. They'd be using the railroad right-of-way, which I'm not sure if it's been abandoned. Are you familiar with the railroad tracks that go underneath?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
So what they're planning on doing is running the road underneath State Street, so they would have to build up, like State Street would have to be like a bridge. Yeah. And they're talking about actually widening the bridge a little bit so that there's some land use out of it. Then there's a couple other alternatives. But the big thing is, when you deal with, of course, the Commonwealth, you're dealing with financing, availability of cash, where they put you in the. It's just like McBride Viaduct. It took us. Everybody thinks we dawdled, but it takes years the engineering studies. But I would say that it's on the fast track. They keep us up to date, and I've attended some meetings where they talk about the 3 or 4 alternatives. They know something has to be done. And here's what will surprise you. Out of their mouth came it that they were surprised the road is successful as it is. Now, I don't know what would make them think that a road that has, limited lights, a lot less than 12th Street.
And why did they change 12th Street? If you get more people on the Bayfront Highway, it don't make sense, 12th Street.
Well, now you'll like their latest plan. This came out of their mouth, too, and the man that said it is gone, but he's a spokesman. Remember this. He's only the spokesman. Now their plan is that they think they should try to get more traffic to use 12th Street.
But get rid of those stupid bump outs, wherever you call them.
Well, that's what I said to him. I said, aren't you the same people that came up with you wanted to calm down 12th Street. You put those white striped areas in there that you can't drive in. And I said, besides that, you got another problem. You've got French Street so congested and cut down that their plan is to tell, like Hammond employees and Erie Insurance employees, that they're going to have to take French Street to 12th Street. They're going to try to encourage them. I said, well, that's a little difficult when you've done everything in the world to make it unattractive, 12th Street and French Street.
Well, here's the thing.
And now you got to, right, John? Now you got to go back and rip, like you say, sir. You got to rip out all the stuff they'd come up with.
Well, here's the thing about that. You can't do it. You cannot rip that stuff out.
They can if they gave us the money.
If we rip those bump outs out, we have to return all that grant money that we got to have it done.
But if the federal government and the state government are the ones that gave it to us, they can abrogate that. If it's their plan, if they come up with it and they say, you know what, we screwed up.
No, I think it was the Downtown Improvement District that it was through an Elm Street grant. I'm pretty sure which.
But the state went along with it because that's a state highway.
Yeah, but we applied for it, so I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but the state went along with it, John.
I mean, I hope you're right.
If the state would admit tomorrow that they made a mistake, okay, there'd be a lot of soul searching.
I think the onus of the whole decision was on us. So we would have to repay the grant.
But you can't. You got to remember this, John. You can't do anything on a state highway without their permission.
I'm 86 years old.
You've seen what I've seen, then, right?
And I'm not trying to be negative, but why is it whenever something major is done in Erie, it's always Mickey Mouse.
Well, you and I agree on that. Do you remember when they tore 12th Street apart?
Yep.
And they opened it up, and it was the greatest thing in the world for a while, right?
They had the tracks going down there from all the way to Sassafras.
Right, that was a huge project. And then they ripped 11th Street apart to put parking in, remember that?
Yep.
And they figured they had to, because in those days, John, we had tremendous traffic coming out of the shops. And they had to move those guys home, you know.
Well, the whole Bayfront Highway has literally choked off the entire east side of the city.
They were going to get a hockey team coming in here, and so they built a Glenwood Arena. Oh boy, that wasn't big enough.
No.
He went to the field house. That was a Cracker Jack box. Nobody liked to go there. They used to have concerts there. I went to see Humperdinck there once, and that was pathetic. The sound system in there.
Yeah, it was. And
then he went down to the what do you call it, where it's at now?
Tulio Arena, that was when it's
just
open.
Doesn't make sense to me that it's all we seem to be mixed. You go to these other towns, they got bridges and roads going every which way.
well, you know, in Allentown they built a 10,000 seat fixed seat arena. In Erie, we cannot. We can barely get 9,000 in there, and we wonder why we're having to redo it. And in the baseball park, I love it, but I think it's the only field in America that has minor league ball that doesn't have seats continuously around home plate.
And they better watch because that's
you agree with me?
in town pretty soon.
Oh, you
too.
mean how it's broken? Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's all because we didn't this guy says we never do things right.
Yeah.
You know, we for years we argued about Glenwood Park.
Right.
And then what did we do? We didn't put 4 lanes through Glenwood Park.
On 38th, correct. And it was the Bayfront Highway is all screwed up.
Yeah, Bayfront Highway should have been 4 lanes.
I mean, a lot of cities are tearing, you know how the Bayfront, it's choked off the whole east side. A lot of cities are taking them out and just doing away with
Well,
them.
because we didn't put underpasses.
And then we didn't put proper exiting off.
No.
At the different.
And the whole McBride thing was a problem with how they approached that problem.
I mean, East Avenue itself was going in a negative direction, but when they cut down the McBride Viaduct, it was literally a death sentence.
But that went down because you built a road right next to it.
I mean and you can't. There's no exit getting off over by there, So it's like they just choked it off.
You know what I like about this guy, though, John?
Yeah.
You're still there, right, sir?
I am.
Wait, the longer you live in this town, you really wrap your head and you go, we just never learned from the past, though.
Do they have something planned for East Avenue and Buffalo Road for the Bayfront Highway?
Well, there is an interchange. That's the next project. Once we get the McBride Viaduct taken care of, the next step will be what should have been done the first time was an interchange should have been built. And they never did it, so now we're going back and redoing that issue.
It makes no sense that you can exit coming north on Buffalo Road, but you can't exit going south. And it choked off the whole East Avenue corridor, the McBride East Avenue, Lower East Avenue. Now, granted, when Hammermill closed and American Sterilizer, et cetera, it was you could already see the economic development dropping, and that highway just put in the death nail.
That's all I have to say. I'll let somebody else call.
I like your comments, though, because you're like me. The longer you live in this town, the more you shake your head sometimes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Same way in State Street, they put that mall in, and what they do, tear it up years down the road.
You know what I always said? If the arena cost $12 million, that was back then. If the arena costs $12 million and the state gives us $9 million, we build it at $9 million.
I don't know why.
And then we don't do it we don't put the extra money in there.
All right. Thanks for calling, caller.
Thanks for listening.
No problem. Bye. It makes no sense to not have just a 10,000 seat arena. But then again, remember we had money and then we had to go back Erie Insurance to come bail us out so we could finish the project.
Because we screwed up the biddings on it.
We screwed it up. Go ahead, caller.
Oh, hold on, let me turn down.
Okay.
Okay, got 2 questions for you guys. Any of the gasoline tax, does the city or the county get any of that, or is that just going to PennDOT?
No, we get liquid fuels. The county gets it and the city gets it. I should have brought the numbers in. I promised I was going to bring them in. We do get, every year we get an allocation. We never know what it is. We get a rough idea. But we do get some, and what we use it for, it's permissible to use it for either paving of streets, buying equipment that's related to that, or different things. We tend to use it for the lighting of the highways and the streets, which is permissible.
But, I mean, since they raised the gasoline tax, has that gone up? Are we getting any more money? Do you know?
Good question.
Yeah, that I promised I'd check. You know what? I got to check into that.
Good question.
I'm going to pull the numbers and check over the last couple of years. Liquid fuel. I'll just look in the budgets and.
I mean, I wonder how much more the state has raised on that tax. And
You know what the thing is, though, they allocate that, even though they raise the tax, they allocate money to different projects like bridges.
Yeah.
So that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get it.
I mean, we have gotten a lot of bridge work done. Not
Yeah.
here per se.
And then the county
but
gets
the
some
county
too.
and
Yeah.
the state itself. There is a lot of bridge work being done.
But yes, we do get some, sir, and we use it. Most of ours is used to pay the electric bill, and some is used for paving.
Okay.
So I'll get you the numbers on, how much we've collected.
You know, besides, I mean, the high gas tax we're paying, the Erie area, we're paying a dime more for gasoline. I was down at Conneaut Lake yesterday. It's $2.99 down there.
Where were you?
Conneaut Lake.
Oh, I came back from St. Mary's. It was cheaper in St. Mary's, PA. This was about a week and 2 weeks ago. I came to Warren, PA, and it got higher. Now, how do you figure that?
That's Warren where they make it.
I'm driving over to the refinery, and it's higher. And then you go north, of course, into Bradford, and it's high there until you get into the Indian reservation.
Right.
And like this gentleman says, you go down to,
I noticed that too.
or how come it's more expensive on the east side of Erie than it is on Peach Street or Summit?
Right. I think a more volume probably type purchasing.
Or it takes longer for the trucks to get to the east side, even though they pass through it first? That's amazing, ain't it, sir?
I think Pennsylvania has one of the highest gas taxes in the country.
I think we're second to California. Is that true? I know New
It
York
could be.
is high, too.
I wouldn't doubt it. I know we're way up there.
Going to New York, and all their roads are nice.
Yeah, of course, the big thing there, too, is that they do charge for use of their highways.
Well, their roads are nice until you get by the casinos.
But they do charge on the interstate, though.
Yeah, when you go by 86, or when you drive by Silver Creek in New York, or you go by the not turning.
90 is a toll road, though. Would you be willing to pay a toll, sir?
I don't know how you couldn't do it around here, Kaz. How would you have all these exits with toll booths on them?
I know, but I mean, they do it in like Chicago and those places. I mean, it's costly, but
You'd make your money back.
Me and my girlfriend were talking about this. When you go to New York State, their toll booths are all, 10, 15 miles apart.
yeah, in New York it is. But if you get to Chicago, like I drive when I drove to see my daughter when she was dancing there, or even Minneapolis, if they got toll roads, I mean, they have them there, but a lot of them are automated now. Most people have the the Easy Pass, so they don't have many workers actually there. But in Pennsylvania, you would have like on I-90, you'd have a problem, but on 80, you have stretches on 80 where you don't see a lot of activity, exit wise.
Well, you can't do tolls in Erie County, Kaz. There's no way.
Well, they would do it. I mean, look at what Buffalo does. You've been in Buffalo, haven't you?
Yeah.
You go nuts throwing the money into the coin boxes. Every bridge you go over.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they can do it. They don't necessarily have to have people there.
Kaz, we have too many exits.
Yeah.
There's 8 and 97, and there's all these exits.
Yeah, but it'd be rough around Philly and Pittsburgh, too, and Allentown. They'd have to.
It would all pay for itself in the end, though. But you'd have to have a massive budget. That would be a massive amount of money to create.
But a lot of them are, like I say, are taken out to people, and they have what they call the Easy Pass lanes, which, all you do is you zip right through. You don't even.
Right.
It wouldn't work, Kaz, because everybody would get on Route 5 and Route 20, and they would just bypass 90.
That's true, but then again, that's always been the problem with this short stretch here.
Yeah, that's the way it is in New York too. I mean, they have 5 and 20.
But if you want to get to Buffalo fast,
Yeah.
or if 79 could be a one day could do it on,
Yeah.
79, you got pretty long stretches.
Well, they just talked about that a couple years ago, and they
But the thing
slowed
is,
it down.
But the thing is, if you're going to do that, like this guy said, make sure you put the money into the roads, though.
Oh, for sure.
Like when you go to New York, I remember we used to see every couple of years they were repaving the highways.
I don't trust them anymore because, with the whole casino thing, remember everybody was getting property tax relief? What a joke that was. A lot of it's bull. I'm starting to I always try to stay positive towards everything, and I don't try to be.
Well, if you live in Summit, you're getting a good benefit.
Oh, yeah, Summit, yeah. But everywhere else, you're getting nothing.
Well, here's my second question.
Go ahead.
Ask when Carl comes on about the county radio system. Do you know, is that going to return to a digital format, or is it going to stay analog like it is right now?
Do you know, John?
I can ask them.
Why would it be analog? Everything's.
I would know. That's the only person. I got you guys before. Nobody knows.
Yeah, because everything's pretty well digital now.
No, it's not. I have an old scanner that I pick up police on and fire and everything.
They're trying to make everything digital, but.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I think they're trying to make digital.
Ever since 911, they promised us everybody would be integrated. It's anything but that. They told us they were going to have everybody everybody to be able to talk to one another. Sure hasn't seemed that way, though.
Well, I don't want to call myself an eavesdropper, but I like listening to the scanner.
Well, everybody does.
And I'm just, I'm wondering, well, do I have to buy a new scanner once this new radio system goes in effect?
But yeah, everybody likes to listen. It's just, human nature.
But yeah, and nobody knows if, that's what I'm asking. Is my old scanner going to work?
Yeah, John's gonna see if he can find out.
I'll text him, see if he responds.
If he doesn't, I'm on the show again, I'm sure. And
I tried to get him to come on today, but he couldn't.
At this point, I don't even know if anybody's going to know. Right. Hey, maybe they don't want people using scanners anymore. How about that?
Well, that's probably really the case when you think about it. It's like being in the military. You don't really want them to listen to you.
It's true. I'm sure the cops aren't. They're not crazy about them.
And if you do, you probably use a lot of code. Special words that nobody understands.
I'm thinking if they're going to pay all that money, it's got to be digital.
You would think it would be.
Yeah.
But you know what? Whatever man makes, man will find a way to. Somebody will invent a system that can listen to it.
The police know that that all the criminals are listening to the scanners too, so
yeah.
They all use these now when they go.
Yeah, which is why if they don't use that, there's other ways that they can communicate. That
walkie-talkies.
I won't say it over the air, but we have discussed like when.
Huh? My cup is leaking.
When there are ways that the police can contact each other, but if they have to, that.
Yeah, they'll just call each other on the cell phone.
Especially if it's a delicate situation where you really don't want people to know it, especially the criminals.
That's what they do now, Taz. They say, give me a call on my cell phone when they want, something personal to say.
Yeah, and the cars all got computers now too, and you know what? In some cases, we really shouldn't know what they're doing because it might be a life and death situation, or it might be a critical, a raid or bust. And
one more thing. These the ham radio guys, they do an excellent job.
Yeah, I tried to get into that for a while. I never got deep into it, but I did like messing around with it.
Well, if you get a scanner, they're on every night at 8:00 and 9:00 at night, and the frequency, I think it's 146.61.
Yeah, who's on there? They.
If you have an old scanner.
Yeah.
And listen to those guys, and anytime there's a big storm coming, they're right on it. They got watchers everywhere, and they where trees are down, where power's out, and
I remember in the old days, they weren't quite ham radios, but we had the CB radios. We used to, we'd all tune ours up a little bit and tweak them,
I got a good friend. His name's Frank, and he lives up on Old French Road, right by the vets. And whenever we drive by his house, he has one of those humongous antennas. And we were like, what is Frank doing? What is that thing? And then we stopped by his house, and he's a ham radio kind of guy.
You used to have to know Morse code, but I don't think you do anymore, right?
No.
There's like a
TV radio, there's nobody on that anymore. That's like done.
Well, that's because the cell phones killed them, but...
Cell phones killed that.
It was interesting for a while because it was like, there was a couple of channels you can go to where you had people that weren't fooling around on there and playing, the King of the Road stuff. But, for a while it had some good use, but, cell phones have killed that.
Okay. Well, like I said, you find out about that digital format.
And I'll find out about the liquid fuel for you.
Yeah, if he gets back to me, I'll say it over the air.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks. The county spent a lot of money on that. So you'd have to think it has.
What's amazing that after 911, they promised everybody was going to be.
Listen, the federal government
fully integrated.
They promised this. Carl fought for he publicly, and he kind of got some crap for it about from this and that from Democrats, but he don't care. People are sick of it. Whether you're Democrat or Republican.
You mean about the radio thing?
No, about unfunded mandates.
Well, yeah,
that's the state. You too, Cass. How many times have we talked about it?
When we were on the school board, that's all we had was.
Yeah,
people blame the school boards and they go.
Let me tell. Now that you brought up the school board, I'm gonna tell you those guys, the school board members. A lot of people don't like them because this and that, but they are in a fight and they are fighting for the taxpayers in this city. I can't get into the details, but behind the scenes, what their babysitter is trying to do to the people of this city, if they knew what was going on, they would lose their minds.
Well, anytime, they made a big deal, and I'll say this publicly, when Joe Sinnott never got enough credit for keeping us out of 47. And I know some people said,
47.
Some people said, we should have went in, it would have been better.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
When you think about it, everybody thought, well, let the state bail us out. You see what's happening now at the school board, right?
No.
What happened?
Babysitter.
We basically down to one high school. We don't even know if we got a bus contract. All the things we were going to do, the expansion of Central, is now off the books because you crowded that school back to the old days.
Right.
Not only that, think of the city. If they would have come in here and took over the city, you would have,
The whole number one premises is to destroy unions anymore. That is the number one goal of Republicans. And you just saw it at the Supreme Court level.
Oh, yeah.
They're trying to destroy unions. Now, on the other hand, people can say unions have gotten greedy, which, yes, they have. As a Democrat, I tell all the time, I say, what you guys are getting, it's exorbitant.
Well, I think some of them are waking up a little bit, but you still don't want to go in 47 because, it's not only the unions are after, but, they can come in and tell you, and they warned us, they can come in here and basically tell the school board or council or, whatever body you got, if it's a township supervisors, once you agree to that, they can tell you you're going to raise taxes, and guess what? It don't matter about what the public thinks. It don't matter how you think. They just come in and they tell you you're in trouble, and the only way you're getting out of it, and that could happen with the school district. They'll say the only way out is to raise taxes.
Listen.
And guess what? You know what you got to do? Raise the taxes.
Here's what's happening right now behind the scenes. There is a fight going on between the babysitter and all the school board members.
I could see that.
A serious fight.
Some
of them are ready to just walk.
I don't think, I always said that if we went in 47 here, you might as well just disband council. I know a lot of people think that'd be a great idea, but no, think about it. What you've done is you have no.
I was raising my hand that way.
but you have no voice. Once you get rid of once you tell your governing board that you elect, people can, if they don't like what I'm doing, they can get rid of me tomorrow.
Right.
Next election.
Right.
But when you have an overseer, you don't get rid of him.
Right.
So you got no voice. If you come to me or you come to your school director and you say, I got a problem, there's nothing we can do.
Right.
It looks like on the surface it's a great idea.
And the whole thing.
But it's not.
The whole problem is that we're trying to talk about Alerta program where all you guys are on the same page, and you guys have done a fantastic job.
And we can't.
In communicating. But
Without the school board, it's going to be a tough.
you got that right, buddy. Without them, and if I'm telling you, they are fighting for you guys out there.
And I felt bad for them because when they were sitting there, I mean, I told them, I said, I used my example. The only thing preventing me from making changes in my house right now, if I wanted to add on a garage or an addition, would be the fact that there's no LERTA out there. Yeah. I don't consider myself, I don't have a lot of cash in the background to handle that.
Right.
You give me 10 years, though, and like I said to them, yeah, for 10 years you're not going to get any more money than I'm paying you now.
Yeah.
But in year 11, okay,
yeah.
you're going to get it, okay?
I've seen the statistics where they do work, but I've also seen and heard some negative things that have come out of it, and we can argue about the Bayfront, this, that, and the other thing. But at this point, we don't have not anybody coming down to offer their
at the Bayfront?
Yeah.
Well, I thought about that the other day. You look around the world, okay, and you look at whether Bethlehem, PA. Bethlehem, PA wasn't even on the radar for a while.
Yeah.
They just announced about a year ago they were going to build this huge housing project near the casino,
yeah.
but along the Lehigh River.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all because of the CRIZ and everything they did, okay?
Yeah.
When Nick Scott tells you that he owned land for 20 years, and he's a businessman, if he thought he could have made money off it, he would have done it. I can guarantee you that, right?
Yeah.
But, when he tells you he's held on for 20 years, and then you look at the GAF property, and it was such a great deal, outside the 2 hotels that were taxpayer built,
yeah.
what has gone there?
Nothing.
You might have, I think Mr. Melody is thinking about.
Rooftop bar.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Cass. Who was the mayor before Wolf? Do you remember? Or not the mayor, the governor. The Republican guy. What was his name?
The
white hair.
Corbett, wasn't it?
Corbett. That's right. When the CRIZs came around, okay, there were 2 CRIZs awarded. There was during an election time, and Erie was one of the people that were supposed to get it, and then they turned around and they gave it to 2 other cities.
Bethlehem and Lancaster, I think.
For political purposes to try to buy the elections at that time.
And then told us we didn't do the paperwork right.
And then try to give us we didn't set up our application properly, et cetera, et cetera. Now, all of a sudden, they're talking about bringing it back. A CRIZ is a Republican initiative.
Yeah.
In order to stimulate businesses during basically election times, because I don't think they've given one out since Corbett left. And if they say Wolfton did it, but no, see, the Republicans, Wolf is the governor, but right now Scarnati and the Republicans control the purse strings in the state.
Well, you look at Nick, he got $5 million. A lot of people say, why do we do that? Oh, but you know what? Nobody said a word when they built the 2 hotels tax exempt, right?
Yeah.
On taxpayers' dime, really.
Yeah.
Funded with a bond and everything.
Yeah.
So to me, you give Nick $5 million, and and if you're going to make out when the hotel goes back up, he starts paying taxes.
Well, the thing about Nick Scott too, yeah, they are rich. There's no doubt about it, and they're probably going to get richer. But here's the thing: they live here.
Well, yeah.
They spend their money here. They reinvest in the community here. Now, we need family-sustaining jobs. That's not that we have to have that. But that doesn't have anything to deal with that.
But does anybody question the Smith family, the Hurt family, the Zerns, or anybody? You know what? It's okay to be rich as long as you.
I'm going to tell you right now.
As long as what you do back to your community is,
The whole EDDC and the rebuilding in this community. If Tom Hagen, we were lucky to have him. Because he is putting a lot of his resources behind what's going on in Erie,
yeah.
And he's getting older,
Well, yeah.
And Erie Insurance, they're expanding. They're putting a lot of money into trying to rebuild Erie from the inside out. And then you have the LERTA, which helps neighborhoods and different things like that. We have a lot of different things going on. I think you and the mayor and the county and the state, you guys are starting to work a little bit together, but it's an election time, which makes me nervous. But, the whole downtown thing with the CRIZ and the Scott family, nobody wants to pay more or not pay while these guys get rich. But
here's my question.
You have to spend a little to make a lot.
Well, here's my question to you. So you'd rather have I'll give you an example. You'd rather have, let's say, the Marriott Corporation come in, build a hotel, take all the money out of the city.
Absolutely. It was the same. I was just going to say.
You'd rather have an out-of-towner get the money than a man,
Like an example where they built those townhouses that nobody buys, by Arby's, where you can get a roast beef from the window. That's a Pittsburgh company owns that. Any money that comes in there would go to Pittsburgh.
But now you got Rick Griffin.
Yeah, well, he took it over. I mean, he's local. I don't mind Rick Griffith making money.
Well, no, because look, if the rich man lives in your area, okay, the businessman,
right?
If he hires more, like Nick Scott, okay, maybe you don't make. Not everybody makes a a family sustaining wage,
right?
But that happens in the world,
Yeah. Well, that's.
But the thing is, you get people that use second jobs there. Yeah. He lives here. Yeah. He keeps reinvesting. Yeah. So he's got to buy his supplies here.
Right.
I mean, you laugh now. We thought about this. How would you like to be the company that sells toilet paper at all its hotels?
Yeah.
Or the company that sells...
It's a major contract.
Or the company that sells the coffee, the other stuff.
Pens, even.
The ink pens.
Anything.
Yeah, the coffee, the food.
Anything.
Yeah, come on.
Birdseas, I'm sure. These guys... And that place, I mean, down there, that's a tourist. I had heard people complaining about another hotel, et cetera, et cetera. This hotel is going to be paying taxes.
Yeah, and so is Tom Kennedy's.
Yeah, so, I mean, that is the type of area where you have your non-family sustaining jobs. You want things down there, and you develop the mixed-use development. They got that Woody's floatable bar out there now. I saw... A lot of people have been showing pictures. It's really nice down there. Kind of expensive.
And there's more stuff coming. Nick Scott wants to do one.
Yeah.
And for the first time, people are starting to think outside the box.
Yeah.
Here, you look at it. Look at Sarah's.
Yeah.
Where does Sarah's buy his food? Probably locally.
They sell Smith's, doesn't he? So
I mean, but then you look at McDonald's and they got a big truck coming in.
Yeah.
So I mean, I always tell people, why are you concerned that a local man is making money? Yeah. It's better.
Absolutely.
Because, the guys that work at Smith's or the guys that work at the local bakery.
You get, a lot of people just complain about everything. That older guy that called here today, he complained. But you know what he said? He says, I don't like to sound negative. And he's right. We don't want to sound negative. But, from what I see from the inside and you guys, what I know, what your guys are all working on, as well as the business community, what I see, we are heading in. We have the right idea. Oh, and they hired the Urban Land Institute or something. Are you familiar with what they did?
No,
the EDDC, yeah. They brought in the former mayor, that Tom Murphy from Pittsburgh. He's heading the committee. And, I was watching the press conference, and they're like, yeah, we're going to put together another plan. I'm like, oh, my God, here we go. Not another oh, my God.
You know what they got to do is stick with the guys locally that are doing
But here's the difference.
Okay.
Here was the difference. The plan, because the guy even said, I know what you're thinking. Here we go with another plan. He said it right in the press conference. But
the Pittsburgh plan is successful right now.
And the guy from Cincinnati is also on the committee. That's who it's modeled after, Cincinnati. Yeah. So the plan is a little bit different because there's a exact step by step by step. Do this, do this, do this, do this. What's the plan we got going on here now? Buki.
Yeah.
It gives you a broad view. This is where you want to start. But it's go do this, buy this, get that, go here, do that. This plan is more specific.
But when you look at the Buki plan, he also said that the investment had to be a combination of government, and don't look to government because you're not going to get you're probably going to get less out of Harrisburg. And then you got to make an investment, which is hard for the city.
Right.
The big component was private investment, and look what you got. Yeah. You got the $25 million plus fund that they started. The local merchants. You got a lot of people coming in with. You got the Smart City grant.
Yep.
When you look at Pittsburgh, they redesigned themselves.
Yes.
Okay, and Cincinnati, I think they did the Over the Rhine project, where they took an old German neighborhood, which had crept down. And, okay, you're not going to do what they did. You're not going to have a McCormick and Schmick's steakhouse down in Erie.
Right.
Like they did in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But, you tailor the plan to your size. And, just like Allentown gutted their whole downtown core. I don't say we have to gut ours, but we have to look at, systematically when you look at what Persinger was hired to do, and you look at, what everybody wants out of it.
They bring in this Tom Murphy and these other guys for this Urban Land Institute. I can't remember the exact thing, or the initials. But what you do is you get those guys to say you do this, 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 and this. This is what you do. You get the guy. You get John Persinger. You get the guy from up at that innovative district, and you get the guy that the city just hired. You go this way, do this. You go this way and do that.
Well,
you go this way and do this.
And
do it now.
And you got to delegate so you can hold people responsible.
Correct.
When you look and you go, it's like in the Army, you delegate and you go, hey John, I told you to hold this, but you didn't. What's the matter?
Yeah.
Then you find out, okay, maybe you can't handle it.
Right.
But in the past, we've juggled things so bad.
You need a targeted strategy.
Yeah, not a shotgun. I always say no shotgun no more.
What are your short-term goals? And in the real world, you have a plan. You have short-term goals, then which lead to your long-term goals. I don't even know what do we even have any goals? What's our goals? You have to have a short-term plan, and then short-term goals, and then you go into your long-term goals.
And I think you and I know that there are some targeted goals that the public hasn't been made aware of yet. But you can see it under the surface that there is a plan.
Yeah.
Now the problem is going to be, do people like me have the political courage to follow through with it?
Right.
Because in the end, we have to make, although, we're going to take credit for it, all we're going to do is provide the legal push to allow it to happen.
Right now, see,
And,
everybody, what has happened in this city and a lot of cities, everybody, government doesn't, we've said it 100 times, government doesn't create jobs. Finish the statement.
It only creates the atmosphere.
Correct. Go ahead, caller.
I just got in the door, guys. I've been running like a crazy man. I have a quick question to ask you.
There's no quick question with you, John, but go ahead.
Oh, that's how it goes. I see where the chief is now, the fire chief, is thinking about leasing equipment. What did I tell you how many years ago?
Yeah.
And now they're finally seeing the light? Is that what that is?
Well, every chief and every mayor and every administration has their own idea. And I think, it's good that you look at other alternatives,
Oh, sure. Like GPU now, they have their own leasing company.
I mean, I heard that before, that there are, sometimes leasing is good, sometimes it's not,
But it's good because when a vehicle gets to the age where it has to be replaced, you turn it in, and it sounds like leasing is costly, but in the long run...
Well, buying a fire truck, I can tell you from experience, is not cheap. And the guys do, no matter what you hear about, they do take good care of their equipment.
Have you ever bought a 65-foot double bucket truck?
No, and I can imagine they are, well...
He drives one around town now.
well, we did buy a couple buckets for this, fire department. They're not, I know what you're getting at, John.
Yeah, they're in the neighborhood of $600,000, $700,000, $800,000.
And our guys do take care of the equipment. I mean, it's...
Well, sure, that's all they have to do.
Hey, John, did you see that they're trying to get an all-paid county fire department now? Did you see that in the news?
Who is?
The volunteers. They've talked to...
It's going to be to the point where they're going to have to start paying them people, or they're going to have to come out with their hoses, the people themselves, and put their own fires out.
Well, in some states, I'll tell you how they do in Virginia. Virginia, they only have cities and counties, John.
True.
No townships, no boroughs. So the city, I'll give you an example. The city of Roanoke or the city of Richmond, they have to keep their own fire department and all that. But the rest of the county surrounding them, like in Erie, that would be all of Erie County, or you could make it a couple counties if you wanted to. You could have like a regional or metro department.
True, but
they just put like key stations around the county.
True.
And they dispatch them. And I don't see why that wouldn't work here.
What happens, I ran into Jack Lee. He's the supervisor for Summit. I ran into him at Rondina Colas.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, I saw in the newspaper how Summit, they have good equipment. So all, like other Northeast and all these other, they respond to each other's calls. So he was telling me, and he said in the paper, he said, if I send the equipment out there and something in Summit needs it, they're out of luck. So it's like, I mean, we're in a serious taxes, people in the city, in the county, they're going to get a real wake-up call.
Yeah, but look at the city. I mean, we're down in, like, if we have a major fire,
Yeah.
we've had to call them in too.
Yeah.
John, I think you know what the biggest problem is, and I'll put it right out there. Don't you think preventing, the things preventing a metropolitan fire department right now would be,
Politics.
well, even not in the county, all these guys are not going to be the fire chief no more. But maybe you make them, a house captain or something.
That's true.
And you know what? You equate the cost. You weight the fire departments probably more around the urban areas, but you have you take the ladder trucks and the houses. You figure out which ones are relevant. Space so many bucket trucks.
True.
So many pumpers like they do.
And buckets
And another thing what prevents the real thing that prevents it is we tried it with the police department on a low level. They were going to merge with Wesleyville, and they found out that if they did that, all the current guys would lose their pensions.
Well, what happens?
And so that just is a sore spot.
What'll happen is that if they, they're already paying some guys part-time money, and eventually the union guys, they're not going to like that.
No.
And if these guys that they start a county department and they're making peanuts with nothing, eventually they're going to get it together like a union and start being, we're not showing unless we get this, this, and this. And then who's going to pay for that? You, me?
Also, the way they have to collect money. You shouldn't have to go to a person and say, would you donate X amount of dollars? They should do it willingly.
I think the state has to sit down long term and say, just look across the whole state and say that there are some areas that need to have a paid fire department, and we got to make it work in such an equitable way that the longtime union guys don't get hurt, the new guys coming in, everything's fair. And you know what? It is going to cost us money, but when you think about it, what is it? You got to have protection. And
but it's a good thing to have, but when you don't have it, you say, where was it?
Well, yeah, people and I'm not bemoaning. In Fairview, a volunteer department may work, but when you get to Summit, Mill Creek, and Harbor Creek, where you're pretty much you can't tell the difference between Erie and those areas.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you depending on volunteers to defend large corporations like Target or Wegmans and places like that. That's not what the volunteer was. The volunteer was designed to help.
Little guy.
Yeah, the feed mill, the local house,
And these guys, they go out there and get injured. They're done. What do they do? How do they get their paycheck to take care of their?
Well, I think we passed some rules.
I think there is insurance.
Yeah, I think we did that as they had a referendum years ago. Yeah. But still, John, I mean, they're not firemen. They're they have regular jobs, and God bless them. But that's just like when they started the casino and they said that the whole purpose of giving the host community money was to provide for police, fire, and all those other things that
roads
the casino was going to cause. And I think long term we got to look at more metropolitan approaches.
There's going to be problems because we've been talking about it for a long time, many years on this show. And it's a matter of time.
And you watch the taxes go up,
and it's coming.
So
Mill Creek especially.
But you can get away from taxes. All you got to do is float another bond.
Well, you got to
pay it sometime.
And then the person on the hook for the next 20 years is the bond payer.
I hate floating bonds. I hate too. That idea. Oh God, I hate bonds.
Yep. So, have a good day.
Thanks, John. I hate the idea of floating bonds for you guys. Every time I hear that word, it's like, oh my, it's like credit card. It's like a credit card. It's like you pay what, 20? How much do you pay on a bond? What's your percentages on a bond?
It varies, but
yeah.
I mean, you try to get the best deal, but like they'll come and tell you now's a good time to float one because, and it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
But now it's starting to creep up.
And then you can, that has its advantages and its disadvantages. But mostly disadvantages because you got to pay it sometime.
Well, I've said this, and John agrees with me somewhat. I've argued the point, like, why do we float bond issues of fixed roads? Just go to the people. Look, if they want to kick me out because I came up with this idea, fine. But you're going to pay for it one way or the other.
Yeah, right.
I always say, why don't you just go to the public, tell them, we're going to raise your taxes this much, but the money is going to be by ordinance dedicated to road network. And every year we're going to have a plan. So many miles of high, and you're going to tell the people ahead of time. You're going to be able to tell them 5 years from now, your road will be on the 5th-year plan or something. And we could do that if we knew,
Yeah, but people don't trust that anymore.
Well, we did it at the school board. John, you do it by ordinance. If you do it by ordinance, you don't make it what you do is you go there and you say, we do it now.
Then you,
But you know what we do now? You don't even know.
Trick.
You don't even know. We do it now and you don't even see it. Every year when we pass the budget, a certain percentage of the millage goes to debt reduction.
Right.
On bonds.
Okay.
And it has to, because we get audited, John.
Yeah.
We get audited by the state, the federal. We get audited by our locally. We get audited, okay?
Then here's what happens. That's great. Then you amend the ordinance a couple years down the road.
Well, you have to do that in public eye, though. But if you say...
Like the public notices.
Yeah, but that's their fault, John. And I say this all the time.
Well, no,
okay?
not really.
I mean, you got to watch your government, okay? But as long as, look, if you put it and you say, I'm going to charge you $1 million, well, whatever it is, $1 million, $1.5 million, and that money every year is going to road, and you do that, okay?
Yeah.
And you got to stick with it. It's just like,
If you stuck with it, then then good.
There's no guarantees in life about anything.
Yeah, well.
What did they tell you about the excise tax in Washington?
Taxes, there's.
What did they tell you about the excise tax in Washington?
I don't know.
It was a tax on tires that would go away after the war was over. Let's see, that was 1940.
A little before me.
78 years later, we still have the tax we still have the Johnstown flood tax. That was I remember the state legislature said, why are we still charging the Johnstown flood tax? Nothing has an end game, right?
No.
But I think if we're serious about road repair, okay, then you got to stick to it, just like you say about these plans. There's no guarantee that in 10 years, you and I, when I'm off of council by that time probably, and people look and they go, what happened to the plan? I got tired of it. That's what happened in the past.
It happens. It's happened far too often.
What it's going to take is, you get in government what the public has to understand.
Want me to tell you why people
they can force the issue by being, what do you call it, John? Vigilant?
Yeah.
They have to stay on us. Yeah. Okay? Because you get the government you create.
Yeah. I'll tell you why people do plans. Because they get these grants to do plans because they make 10% off the top. Yeah. That's how a nonprofit makes their money. You get 10%.
Sure.
You get a $1 million grant, you get 10% right off, which is what, $100,000 right off the top. So let's keep doing these study. And another thing before we go, the new EDDC with the Persinger and those guys, they're doing the same thing the DID is doing at this point. It appears, and there's a lot of talk of them two, butting heads.
Merging. Well,
I don't know about merging.
The difference in the two of them is that Sean's Persinger's group is targeting a certain area of the DID's area.
Yeah.
And the DID has got, outline area. Mm-hmm. So I think I know what you're getting at, John.
Yeah.
For the sake of playing in the same sandbox.
Yeah.
They probably, in the area that they're talking about, they probably should work together with the DID. But in no way are they taking over the DID's mission because well, wait a minute. Unless wait, the initial thing that they told us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The initial area that they're targeting, the DID is a huge area.
Yeah, it's from Sass to, I think
French. I think it's too big.
It's a 14th.
I think it's too big, okay? Compared to other cities, what they did, like Harrisburg and all them.
Yeah.
They let the area grow as they took care of the targeted area.
Yeah.
But I think in the case of, like Persinger, now if they decide they're going past what they did now,
right. I
think, yes, then the time is ripe for serious conversation about the role of the two groups. Because you got to remember, right now the merchants are paying the DID, okay? We're only the conduit to, we take the money and return it to the DID.
Right.
Because that money, they voted by ordinance.
Right.
So I think, yes, at some time you're going to probably have to get those two groups together. Yeah. Because if they are, in fact, John, going to extend past what their mission area is, then I think, the time for conversation is ripe.
Well, I know there's merchants that are downtown that are saying that they're doing the same thing. So it's kind of, this isn't my opinion. This isn't my opinion.
I don't
This
know.
is
The did
straight
to
from
me,
their
I've talked to John Buckner.
Yeah.
The downtown did seems to be more about maintaining the downtown, cleaning it, getting grants for facades and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think the did itself, as I looked at it, has any plans of really doing any big level stuff.
No, I mean, if they're smart, they'll sit back and let that other group do it.
And this other group seems to be like, although we're not the did, we're saying that we're targeting certain buildings and areas.
Well, I'm sure they're working
and we would like to change the culture. So in that respect, they're changing the culture of that certain area that, the did is so big that some people benefit more directly than others. Yeah. Not every merchant benefits from the did. The same way another merchant does,
But, it just seems like there's, some of the things that I've been hearing, it's kind of like, well, wait a minute. Isn't the did supposed to be doing that? Or, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure they're working together at this point.
I think if I was mayor right now,
I
would sit the two groups down and say, you guys need a little meeting just to decide, what are you doing and, what's your future plans? Are you going to stay in this little oval you created,
Well, the thing is, like we talked about a couple minutes ago, they brought the Urban Land Institute. So the EDCD, I can't even remember.
Yeah.
They're going to have a specific this, do this, and this. And I mean, the DID will do their thing.
Well, you're going to have people, right now, if this plan's going to work, that's what the war room was sort of about. Mm-hmm. Getting everybody in the same room and saying, Gannon, you got plans, and Gannon's a member of the DID. But yet they're going to probably step on the DID.
Yeah.
Hammett's a member of the DID, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, and so is Erie Insurance.
They all have to pay a premium.
Yeah, but they're all going to be stepping each other. So I think they got to get in the same room at different times and say, what's the mission of the DID? Is the DID to take care of,
street cleaning, stuff like that.
Well, no, but other stuff too. They can work and get grants.
Yeah.
But they have to work together to make sure that what one does doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's got to. I think they've started to work as a team. We have one shot. You cannot have market rate housing and no jobs. I mean, have we learned? I mean, nobody's going to buy those disasters on Peach by the Arby's.
I think that if Erie Insurance, when I look at what they're creating, and I talked to this young doctor, and I looked at Hammett, and you look at Gannon. Yeah. Some of their professors want to live down in the area.
Yeah.
Some of the Erie Insurance people are going to want to live in the area.
Right.
A lot of young doctors, they're going to want. So I think market rate housing will work with what we have. It has to be reasonable. Okay?
Yeah.
But if you start to overstep it, then yes, you better have a plan.
The idea of reasonable market rate housing doesn't exist in this market because people don't have jobs.
Well, there are people who have jobs, but it might not be.
Not enough to sustain what they're talking.
But, they must know deep down, and I trust the Tom Hagans of the world.
Absolutely.
And I trust that they must have a plan. They must have did some research and asked their employees, or, would you be willing to do it? If you're talking about a college professor or a doctor at Hammett or some of the people at Erie Insurance that may want to live downtown.
I mean, something would work down here on Perry Square where you can see the water.
Yeah.
But the Arby's disaster they got up there.
That John, is an example of, the Music Man came to town and we ran in
from Pittsburgh, and he's like, it was an economic.
But it was his own money at the time, but now it's costing us.
Yeah.
But I think, I've always said this, the waterfront, the central city, is where the kids want to live.
Yeah.
Okay? They want to get out. They want to be able to go to the theater, the bar hopping scene.
Right.
The people in Hammett, the doctors and stuff, and they want the waterfront.
That's where, like we talked about this.
And what's Nick building?
What's that?
What's Nick doing?
Market
rate housing.
Market rate, mixed use, which is good. That's what you want. The young people downtown, we lived a life. We both did it in our 20s. Then all of a sudden we hit 30, 35. Then we want to move to different neighborhoods, but we still pay taxes.
What if I retired and I said, I'm done with my house?
Yeah.
I can't afford the penthouse.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll take the one on the middle.
Yeah, right. It's
maybe I don't get the waterfront view, but
look, it took us over 100-something years to ruin everything, pretty much. So with Tom Murphy and these guys, that Tom Hagan, I'm sure.
But we got a lot of guys. We got the Scotts, the Griffins, the Kennedys. You got Tommy Hagen and his group.
The Kwiatkowskis.
Well, I mean, no, I don't take credit, but these are the guys that got the money that are going to say.
Hey, they got the flow. You can't have no romance without finance.
Well, this will be our last call.
We'll take it and get out of here.
Well, you'll be the last call. Go ahead.
This is me again. Well, excuse me. You're still paying tax on the Korean War?
I believe that.
Finance the Korean War. Yes, you are.
Yeah, I believe it because the one tire on, I think the tire tax or something was based on World War II for a while. So I wouldn't doubt that. I believe you.
Yep. I know for a fact. Okay, have a good day.
Thanks.
You two, and have a nice 4th.
So,
Yeah, everybody have a good holiday. And Cass, thanks for having me
Put
today.
those flags up.
Yeah, I'm going to make a public service announcement.
What's that?
When you're doing fireworks, don't blow your hands up.
No.
Okay?
It's not funny.
No, it's not. It hurts. It hurts.
And remember, it is illegal in the city to.
Yeah, I mean, I think the mayor was with Kevin Flowers today talking about illegal fireworks and blowing your fingers up or something like that. I tuned out.
It's not a good thing.
No, you don't want to do that. So, thanks for watching, everybody.
And see you John, we'll see you next week.
We'll see, probably. We'll have to see what my schedule looks like. Go ahead, Mike.
No music?
We'll see.
Oh, there it
This
is.
has been Taxpayers Hotline with your hosts, Kaz Patowski and John Steiner. Thanks for watching.